Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In this episode, I'm going to discuss major planetary retrogrades occurring from June 2023 through December 2023 and what that means for all of us. Welcome to the episode of major planetary retrogrades during June through December 2023 and how we may be affected by these transits. Listen up, because you will be personally affected if a major planet is retrograding in your sign. From June 2023 through December 2023, we will experience 7 planetary retrogrades, which is more than half the planets in our solar system and zodiacal universe reversing direction, forcing us to retrace our steps and rethink our lives. When planets travel retrograde, it's a good time to practice the RE words related to the archetypal energies of a specific planet. For example, when Venus is retrograde, it is a good time to look at your relationship life and past patterns that are not healthy. Sometimes exes will show up or try to contact us during a Venus retrograde. Reviewing past relationships and realizing what our patterns are in partnerships, such as codependence, etc., which are not healthy for future connections, is essential. So during planetary retrogrades, we implement all those RE words such as review, revisit, reassess, reestablish, reunite, reconnect, research, realize. Retrogrades may not be the best times to begin something new, but they can be good for tying up loose ends or giving a waylaid project a second chance to succeed. Here are the retrograde cycles from June through December 2023 in chronological order as to when they begin. At the time of this podcast release, we are already experiencing 2 of the planetary retrogrades. Pluto has been retrograde since May 1st, 2023. So here are the dates in United States Eastern Time. Pluto retrograde May 1st through October 10th, 2023. Pluto was retrograde in Aquarius from May 1st through June 11th and is retrograde in Capricorn from June 11th through October 10th, 2023. Saturn goes retrograde in Pisces from June 17th through November 4th, 2023. Neptune is retrograde in Pisces June 30th through December 6th, 2023. Venus retrogrades in Leo July 22nd through September 3rd, 2023. Mercury goes retrograde in Virgo August 23rd through September 15, 2023. Uranus retrogrades in Taurus August 28th, 2023 to January 27, 2024. And Jupiter retrogrades in Taurus September 4th through December 30th, 2023. I'll explain what each of these retrogrades mean later in the episode, but first, let's talk about retrograde planets in general. Planets traveling retrograde, or what looks like reverse motion astronomically, is a common phenomenon in astrology. Astrologically, a retrograde is when a planet travels backward through a zodiacal sign. Since retrograde motion is so radically different than the norm, it's not a surprise that many people often experience it as disruptive. Retrograde planets change our perception, direction, attitude, and trajectory. When a planet passes the Earth in its orbit, or vice versa, it is said to be going retrograde. From our vantage point on Earth, it is almost as if the planet is moving in reverse. This is an illusion, but it's a bit like 2 trains passing at different speeds. One appears to be going backwards. As I mentioned earlier, when planets travel retrograde, it's a good time to practice the RE words. So during planetary retrogrades, we implement all those RE words again, such as reflect, restrategize, review, revisit, reassess, reconnect, reunite, realign, reestablish. Retrogrades are not good times to start new projects. Retrogrades are periods of reassessment and redoing. They frequently deal with the past, so things, situation, even people from the past can reappear. It's a time to slow down, do some personal reflection, and review the trajectory we've been on. By making an effort to check ourselves and learn from our past during a retrograde, we can move forward with more clarity and confidence once it's done. During retrogrades, issues that we tried to bury or ignore could come back to surface to haunt us, forcing us to deal with them again and find some resolution. Even situations that we thought were finished could bubble up again in some way, requiring us to come to new conclusions or to learn new lessons. You may notice that during certain retrogrades, especially Mercury retrograde, you have a tendency to hit roadblocks on projects, run into issues within relationships, that would be Venus retrograde, or face personal crisis and confusion. That's if a retrograde is hitting your natal sun. Think of these struggles as the universe's way of helping you learn from mistakes and to get in touch with yourself before charging forward on new endeavors. Sometimes retrograde cycles will bring up big karmas or karmic situations that we have tried to ignore or that we didn't even know about. So the best is to look at what is presenting itself. What do I need to do? Do I need to take action? Do I need to go within? How should I change my perception? What needs to shift and change, either internally or externally? And then allow yourself to get into a new flow. So, what does each retrograde planet mean for us? When planets go retrograde, entire populations will experience the the re aspect of the planet, meaning revisiting a situation personally or collectively. Each of the planets in astrology rules over a different part of our lives. It's within those parts of our life that we'll experience the retrograde fueled effects while a planet is backspinning. Each planet's retrograde has something different to teach us, and they offer us opportunities to pause so we can review our decisions, assess where we're at, and make adjustments before moving forward again. So let's go through the chronological retrogrades during June through December 2023. Pluto went retrograde in Aquarius on May 1st, 2023, and then backtracked into Capricorn on June 11, 2023, where it stays retrograde until October 10th, 2023. When Pluto retrogrades, we get to revisit our transformational process, look at what is dying or leaving our lives, and perhaps rebirth ourselves. Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. So its retrograde subtly affects our relationship to slow moving changes taking place in society. Pluto retrograde allows time for a population to integrate big shifts in situations and consciousness. Sometimes groups of people will wake up to the power plays that the governments, military, media, or other groups who hold power have implemented in a population. Pluto backspins once a year for about 5 months at a time, which is almost half a year. When Pluto retrogrades, those born during the sign it is retrograding under, and also Scorpios, because they're ruled by Pluto, will be impacted. During the retrograde of Pluto in Aquarius from May 1st through June 11th, Aquarians felt the Plutonian tides pull back, forcing them to go internal and to begin processing their shadow. Now, from June 11th through October 10th, 2023, Capricorns and Scorpios are impacted during this Pluto retrograde and specifically will feel it strongly around the time it goes direct on October 10th, 2023 at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The day that a planet transits direct tends to bring a whirlwind energy forward with it. We can expect some big news to break around October 10th, 2023, and the financial markets to be affected in some way. Pluto is the lord of death, rebirth, and transformation. So during this retrograde cycle, we can see society experiencing change and metamorphosis. Pluto is like the Vedic archetype Shiva, the destroyer, breaking things down, releasing all that no longer serves, and stirring up the cauldron of transmutation and transformation. Pluto retrograde brings up the dark underbelly of death, violence, abuse, control agendas, and all the wrongdoings in society. In an individual's chart, when transiting Pluto retrogrades and aspects a natal planet, it can bring unexpected and deep issues, especially around health. Personally, it affects people's subconscious and can bring up shadow content from one's psyche and from the collective unconscious. There can be an uptick in violence when Pluto retrogrades, triggering other planetary aspects or when it is getting ready to station direct. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn will bring revisions in laws and governmental edicts. Sometimes, when new laws are passed during a Pluto retrograde cycle, they won't stick, especially if Saturn or Jupiter are retrograde at the same time, which will be the case during June through October 2023. The next retrograde planet is Saturn, retrograding in the sign Pisces from June 17th through November 4th, 2023. Saturn is the planet of rules and restrictions, so it retrogrades affect our sense of responsibilities. When Saturn retrogrades, societal dictates and rules can be reversed. When rules or edicts are enforced when Saturn is retrograde, they sometimes don't stick. I like to say with Saturn retrograde, what is done can be undone. Saturn backspins once a year for 140 days. The sign that Saturn retrogrades through, as well as Capricorns, are affected by its retrograde cycles. Saturn retrogrades in Pisces from June 17th through November 4th, 2023. Saturn stations direct on November 4th at 3:03 a.m. Pisceans and Capricorns will feel this transit stronger than most and also need to be alert around the time Saturn stations direct on November 4th. Pisceans will feel acutely because it is the sign it is retrograding through. Going back over all the early degrees of Pisces, it transited from March 7th, 2023 through June 17th, 2023. Everyone, though, will get to revisit what was being implemented or seeded in their lives from March to June and get to reformulate their plans going forward to launch in November. Saturn naturally rules boundaries, limits, responsibilities, discipline, and authority. Saturn is considered the karmic lord in astrology, so sometimes we can see karma come home to roost during its retrograde. Whoever thinks they have the last laugh may be duped during a Saturn retrograde. Also, as I mentioned with Pluto retrograde, what is done can be undone with Saturn retrograde, including laws and other mandates that courts or governments are trying to impose on people. Also, health issues that one might have thought went away can reappear under Saturn retrograde. In one's personal life, Saturn retrograde can help one go back and review plans, revisit structures they want to implement in their lives, and maybe even redo these plans so they can be launched when Saturn goes direct. During any Saturn retrograde cycle, we may momentarily get a reprieve from the typical effects of Saturn transits, which may include pressure and a sensation of burden, fear, or frustration. Similar to all retrograde transits, Saturn retrograde periods are excellent for reviewing what we have learned thus far from the Saturn transit with a view to continuous improvement. Saturn retrograde periods are also ideal for revisiting form or structures and understanding how something may best be built to stand the test of time.
Would you like more wealth, prosperity, and love in your life? Would you like to develop your intuition so you can make better decisions? Well, I have developed online courses to help you. I have applied my years of experience of helping clients to experience more successful, prosperous, happy, and fulfilling lives with metaphysical techniques, tools, and powerful positive processes. I have created a series of empowering workshops. Check out my new online courses on Sanskrit mantras for wealth, prosperity, love, and to develop your intuition. Check them out at jilljardineastrology.com/capital M as in Mary, C as in cosmic, S as in scene. That is jilljardineastrology.com/MCS.
The next retrograde cycle is Neptune retrograde in Pisces from June 30th through December 6th, 2023. Neptune is the planet of dreams and illusions, so its retrogrades subtly affect the way we perceive our realities. Neptune is a transpersonal planet that can affect groups of people when it retrogrades, sometimes waking populations out of a collective illusion being perpetuated by the media or governments. Neptune backspins once a year for about 5 months at a time. When Neptune retrogrades, the sign Neptune is transiting through is going to be affected, and Pisces, the sign Neptune rules. Well, how convenient, because in the current case, with Neptune retrograding, it's transiting through its own sign, Pisces. So Pisceans are getting a double whammy. Pisceans are extremely impacted by this Neptune retrograde cycle because Saturn is also retrograde in Pisces. When Neptune goes retrograde, it helps to integrate our dreams and visions. We will find out where we have deluded ourselves. Where in life are we wearing those rose-colored glasses of illusion, and where have we been led down the garden path? Neptune retrograde is a good time for deep spiritual practices and connecting with Source. Meditation and spiritual retreats are enhanced, and getting away from the mundane and pursuing creative outlets are favored. Venus goes retrograde in Leo from July 22nd through September 3rd, 2023. Venus is the planet of love, romance, value, and money. So when Venus retrogrades, it often affects our relationships or finances. Venus retrogrades for 42 days every 2 years. When Venus goes retrograde, the sun sign that it is traveling through will also be affected. So this July through September, Leos, as well as Librans and Taurus, will be affected because Venus rules Libra and Taurus. Venus has not been retrograde since 2021. So this is kind of a big deal with this summer retrograde Venus in Leo. Relationships will certainly be feeling the stress. This is enhanced because the nodes of the moon also just changed signs on July 18th to the signs of Aries and Libra, which are the self and other signs. Check out my previous podcast on the nodes of the moon in Aries and Libra for more information. The North Node will be traveling through Aries, and the South Node will be transiting through Libra from July 18th, 2023 through January 11th, 2025. Libra is ruled by Venus and is the sign of relationships. With Venus retrograde in Leo and the South Node transiting Libra, relationships will become complicated, and many may find themselves trying to untangle from existing relationships or commitments. South Node by transit tends to dissolve or reject. So many relationships will simply dissolve or disintegrate. Venus retrograde in Leo will amplify this trend of people releasing relationships. Or we may revisit relationships from the past that could work this time around. We are in a time of acceleration. So many people are evolving out of relationships or obligations to others. With the North Node in Aries and Venus in Leo, both are fire signs that tend to put me first. We may see people being more selfish and less cooperative in relationship. There will be less tolerance for unhealthy or unsupportive relationships. Also, if the emotional connection has dwindled, people won't stick around to rekindle it. Many will be on the lookout for new romance and fan the flames of flirtation under Venusian Leo love lights. For those looking for love, this can be a great time to find romance. However, there can be false starts or deceptions in love with Venus retrograde. Best to wait for a real love connection until after September 3rd when Venus goes direct. Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades 24 days at a time, 3 to 4 times a year. Mercury is the planet of communication, thinking, timing, and technology. Its retrogrades can cause all sorts of mix-ups, scheduling snags, and tech glitches. Mercury retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year for about 3 weeks at a time. If you are a Virgo or Gemini, or Mercury is going retrograde through your sun sign, you will be affected more than most signs by a Mercury retrograde. That's because Virgo and Gemini are the signs that Mercury rules. And actually, during this cycle in August through September 2023, Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. So you Virgos are going to feel the squeeze. As I mentioned, Virgos will get a double whammy because Mercury, as their ruling planet, is going retrograde in their sign. As the planet of communication, Mercury retrograde tends to breed a certain level of confusion. Mercury rules our lower mind, which is how we perceive and interpret information that we receive from our environment and how we relay that information to others. Mercury has rulership over such things as speaking, negotiating, buying and selling, listening, formal contracts, documents, travel, the mail, and shipping, and so forth. All of these areas of life are affected when Mercury is functioning slowly. Decision making is challenged during Mercury retrograde. It's advised not to sign contracts, engage in important decision making, or launch a new business. Delays and challenges are more probable with Mercury retrograde. It's a time when being careless with money, our personal information, or paperwork can be costly. There is a positive side to Mercury retrograde. This period is best used for reorganizing and reflecting. Mercury retrograde periods can be times of heightened inner awareness when meditation, benefiting from keeping a journal, reworking old plans, and reviewing past work are favored. Mercury retrograde is powerful for studies, particularly for returning to old studies, for relearning or refreshing knowledge in a subject already taken. With Mercury retrograde in Virgo, we might look at past decisions and ideas from a new, possibly enlightened perspective, although we may be especially analytical and critical, perhaps to excess when Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. We may be returning to past projects or refining and tweaking them. We may feel stuck in the past if we continually redo and don't feel satisfied with the results, however. We can find usefulness in old or past ideas and recycle them in new ways. This is a good time for reviewing recent work as long as we don't get caught in a loop of perfectionism. We might discover new ways of doing work that has become routine, or we might consider renewing self-care, health, or fitness programs. Plans may be considered, then reconsidered. We are in a good position to reevaluate all our routines and habits, and we might give more thought to the meaning of our work or services. So use this Mercury retrograde in Virgo productively, and you can actually get quite a bit done. The fifth planet to go retrograde during this June through December cycle is Uranus, retrograding in Taurus from August 28th, 2023 to January 27th, 2024. Uranus is a planet of chaos and unexpected shifts. So its retrogrades subtly affect the way we process sudden change in our lives. It is a transpersonal or collective planet, meaning when it retrogrades, groups of people might be affected by a significant event that occurs during the retrograde cycle. Uranus retrogrades once a year for about 5 months at a time. Those with the sun sign Uranus is transiting through, as well as Aquarians, will be impacted by Uranus retrograde cycle, as Uranus rules the sign Aquarius. Uranus is retrograde in Taurus from August 28th, 2023 to January 27th, 2024. So this retrograde cycle affects Taurians as well as Aquarians. Uranus is the great awakener, and when he goes retrograde, this is a time of integration. Usually, there are recent revelations or shifts in consciousness right before Uranus transits retrograde. Uranus will bring breakthroughs and breakdowns. Uranus urges change and doesn't want us to rest on our laurels. During Uranus retrograde, we can figure out how to implement changes in our lives and society. There will be powerful wake-up calls, and necessary change is inevitable. Also, for individuals who have strong Uranian signatures in their natal charts, unexpected health issues and other surprises can pop up. And the last retrograde cycle during this time period of the second half of 2023 is Jupiter retrograding in Taurus from September 4th through December 3rd, 2023. Jupiter is the planet of growth and expansion, so its retrogrades relate to our personal evolution. Jupiter retrograde can limit our reach and scope, and also may pop the balloon of something that was expanding earlier too fast or too big. Jupiter backspins once a year for 120 days at a time. The signs that Jupiter retrogrades through, as well as Sagittarius, the ruler of Jupiter, are impacted by Jupiter retrograde cycles. Jupiter's retrograde in Taurus from September 4th through December 30th, 2023. Taurus and Sagittarius are impacted by this retrograde cycle. Jupiter is a great benefic in astrology, bringing blessings, knowledge, abundance, good luck, and wisdom. Jupiter signifies the inner or outer guru or teacher. Jupiter expands consciousness, bringing new experiences and allowing us to journey inwardly or outwardly to new areas of life or far horizons. When Jupiter travels retrograde, we will see shifts in religions and governments. Under Jupiter retrograde, we can see revisions made in government policies and reversals and abuses of those in power, especially among religious leaders or cults. There can be revelations of abuses by church leaders or government leaders. And when Jupiter's retrograde personally, we may curb our plans to expand our business, to make purchases, to extend ourselves. We will be very conscious of not overextending when a Jupiter is retrograde, especially in Taurus. So there could be some financial upsets, both collectively and personally, with Jupiter and Taurus retrograde, tightening the belt. I hope you enjoyed this episode on planetary retrogrades during June through December 2023. Remember to subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine signing out, sending healing retrograde vibrations through the quantum field.